Beloved one, pause for a moment and feel what just shifted in the atmosphere. The very lie they whispered about you, the one meant to close doors, stain your name, and isolate you, has been processed in a realm they cannot see. What you thought was a setback was paperwork. What felt like humiliation was authorization. And if you stay until the end of this message, you will understand why the rumor that tried to bury you just stamped your promotion letter. You were confused when it started. The sudden coldness. The strange distance. The way conversation stopped when you walked into the room. You sensed something was wrong, but you didn't know the script being written behind your back. They crafted narratives with confidence, sprinkling exaggeration with just enough truth to make it believable. They assumed silence meant weakness. They thought your restraint meant guilt. But heaven saw something else entirely. What they didn't know is that your name carries weight in places their words cannot reach. The lie did not travel upward the way they expected. It hit resistance. It triggered review. It activated scrutiny, not on you, but on them. Because when a lie is launched against someone marked for elevation, it becomes evidence in a higher court. The same accusation that was meant to disqualify you has been recorded as proof of your assignment. You wondered why you didn't feel the urge to defend yourself. That restraint was not fear, it was positioning. Every time you swallowed the impulse to retaliate, you were rising. Every time you chose silence over revenge, you were being measured for something greater. They were trying to push you down socially, but spiritually you were being lifted. Quiet endurance became your credential. And here is what makes this dangerous, for them. The lie forced you into isolation, and isolation forced you into clarity. You began to see people without the filters of flattery. You noticed who shifted, who avoided eye contact, who secretly hoped the rumor was true. The separation hurt, but it refined your circle. The lie filtered your environment. It removed access. And promotion always requires access control. You thought you were losing influence. In reality, you were shedding dependency. Because where you are going, you cannot carry the need to be understood by everyone. The next level requires insulation. It demands that your identity be anchored deeper than public opinion. And the only way to build that anchor was to let the storm of misunderstanding hit you without explanation. There is something else you haven't realized yet. The lie exposed your resilience to observers you never noticed. While some believed the rumor, others were watching your response. They studied your composure. They analyzed your restraint. They saw strength where others saw scandal. And those silent observers? They are connected to doors you have not yet knocked on. This is the part they miscalculated. They assumed narrative control equals outcome control. They thought if they shaped perception, they shaped destiny. But destiny is not governed by gossip. It is governed by calling. And calling has protection protocols. When your assignment carries weight, attacks become accelerants. You are not being promoted in spite of the lie. You are being promoted because of how you handled it. Look closely at the timing. The rumor spread right before an opportunity was about to open. It looked like sabotage. It felt intentional. But what if it was a screening process? What if only someone who could survive false accusation without collapsing was qualified for what is next? The pressure you felt was evaluation. The discomfort was preparation. The silence around you was not abandonment, it was restructuring. And what you mistook for rejection was redirection into a higher chamber of authority. Stay attentive now, because the next revelation changes everything. There is a specific reason the lie had to surface publicly before your elevation could be announced. It wasn't random. It wasn't accidental. It was strategic. And when you understand why exposure precedes endorsement, you will never fear slander again. Chosen one, there is a law operating in your life that few understand: exposure always precedes endorsement. Before elevation becomes visible, your name must survive distortion. The lie was not merely an attack, it was a stress test. And what shocked your accusers most is that you did not fracture under pressure. You did not chase validation. You did not beg to be believed. Instead, you stood still while the storm tried to rename you. That stillness was not weakness. It was authority forming in silence. They assumed that if they shook your image, your confidence would collapse. But what they didn't see was that your confidence was never built on applause. It was built in private battles no one applauded you for surviving. The lie only revealed how deeply rooted you already were. And now, those who matter are seeing something unmistakable. You are stable under fire. This is why the narrative is shifting in ways you cannot yet measure. The same people who once leaned in to hear the rumor are beginning to question it. Not because you defended yourself, but because your consistency contradicts the accusation. Consistency is louder than rebuttal. Integrity, over time, exposes fabrication. You stayed aligned. You kept producing. You kept showing up. And that steady rhythm became evidence. There are conversations happening now that you are not part of, but your name is. Doors you assumed were closed are being reconsidered. Opportunities that seemed withdrawn are being re-evaluated. Not out of pity. Not out of charity. But because decision-makers respect endurance. They trust people who can withstand false narratives without losing composure. You are proving that your identity cannot be manipulated by public opinion. Understand this: leadership requires insulation from noise. If a rumor could derail you, authority would destroy you. So the lie functioned as training. It taught you to detach from crowd energy. It forced you to refine your internal voice. It exposed how much power you were unconsciously giving to perception. Now you are different. Quieter. Sharper. Less reactive. More deliberate. They thought they were damaging your credibility. In reality, they were clarifying your capacity. Notice how your reactions have changed. You are slower to explain. Less eager to justify. More comfortable letting truth breathe on its own timeline. That transformation is promotion behavior. Authority does not rush to defend itself, it stands and lets time testify. And time is beginning to testify on your behalf. Here is the deeper layer they cannot see: the lie forced hidden alliances to surface. Some distanced themselves, revealing fragile loyalty. But others, unexpected ones, leaned closer. They defended you when you were not present. They questioned the narrative quietly. They observed your posture and recognized strength. These are not random supporters. They are aligned connections being positioned around your next level. Promotion is not just about title or visibility. It is about environment. And your environment is being recalibrated. Access is being refined. Energy around you is being filtered. The lie acted like a magnet, pulling true alignment toward you and pushing counterfeit alignment away. You may still feel the residue of embarrassment. The echo of whispers. The memory of isolation. But what feels like scar tissue is actually armor forming. You are becoming less penetrable by opinion. And that is dangerous, in the best way. Because here is what is about to happen: the very narrative that attempted to label you unstable, dishonest, or unworthy is going to collapse publicly. Not through confrontation. Not through exposure campaigns. But through contrast. Your fruit will contradict their fiction. Your results will dismantle their rumor. And when that shift becomes visible, the reversal will be undeniable. Those who doubted will adjust their tone. Those who distanced will attempt reconnection. And those who initiated the lie will feel something they did not anticipate: irrelevance. Because when truth rises, falsehood loses oxygen. But before the public reversal, something internal must complete its work. There is one final adjustment happening inside you. A subtle but powerful shift that will determine how you carry the promotion when it lands. And if this inner shift locks into place, the elevation coming toward you will not just change your position, it will redefine your influence. Chosen one, the final adjustment is not external, it is internal alignment. Before promotion becomes visible, posture must become permanent. The lie shook your surroundings, but now something steadier is being built inside you. You are no longer seeking to be liked, you are learning to be trusted. And trust is forged when character survives contradiction. There was a version of you that still needed applause to confirm direction. That version is dissolving. The isolation stripped away dependency on approval. When the noise faded and the whispers grew louder, you had to decide who you were without consensus. That decision changed you. You stopped negotiating your identity with public opinion. You stopped shrinking to remain digestible. And in that quiet recalibration, authority began settling on you naturally. Promotion requires emotional discipline. Not emotional suppression, but mastery. When the lie surfaced, it tempted you to react impulsively, to clear your name immediately, to correct every distortion. But you resisted. That resistance strengthened something invisible yet powerful: restraint. And restraint is the backbone of leadership. Anyone can respond under praise. Few can remain composed under misrepresentation. Notice how your discernment has sharpened. You now recognize patterns faster. You see insecurity disguised as criticism. You detect projection hidden in accusation. The lie gave you X-ray vision. What once confused you now reads clearly. You understand that people reveal themselves when threatened by someone rising. And instead of taking it personally, you are beginning to see it strategically. Here is the deeper truth: the lie was allowed to reveal who could handle your growth. Some people are comfortable with you as long as you remain equal or beneath them. The moment your trajectory shifts upward, their insecurity activates. The rumor was not about your flaws, it was about their fear. And now that fear has exposed itself. But do not allow awareness to turn into bitterness. This is crucial. Promotion carried with resentment becomes heavy. You are not being elevated to dominate or prove a point. You are being elevated to steward influence with wisdom. The temptation will be to remember who doubted and move with cold detachment. Resist that. Strength without compassion becomes tyranny. You are being trained to lead without becoming hardened. There is a difference between silence born of pride and silence born of confidence. You are stepping into the second. You no longer feel urgency to convince everyone. You understand that clarity does not require volume. Truth matures on its own timeline. And that calm certainty you feel? That is stability forming at a higher level. The next phase of your life demands this stability. Doors will open quickly. Conversations will shift tone. Invitations will appear from places that once seemed distant. And when that acceleration begins, you cannot afford emotional turbulence. The lie was the final storm before smoother altitude. Something else is shifting beneath the surface. The people who believed the rumor are quietly reassessing. They are replaying interactions with you and noticing inconsistency between the accusation and your character. Seeds of doubt about the lie are growing. You do not need to water them. Your consistency will. And when the reversal becomes obvious, you must respond with grace. Not sarcasm. Not subtle superiority. Grace. Because the way you handle vindication will determine the longevity of your promotion. There is a moment approaching, a defining interaction. A conversation that will reveal how much you have grown. It may involve someone connected to the lie. It may involve someone who once doubted you. In that moment, your composure will confirm your readiness. Your calm will speak louder than defense ever could. You are closer than you think. The energy around you feels different because it is. The tension is thinning. The pressure is easing. Something is about to shift visibly. But before that public shift occurs, there is one more revelation about the lie itself, something you have not yet seen. A hidden advantage embedded within it. When that final piece becomes clear, you will realize this was never just about survival. It was strategic positioning. Chosen one, here is the hidden advantage you have not yet seen. The lie did not just test you, it introduced you. It carried your name into rooms your consistency alone had not yet reached. What was spoken with malicious intent became unexpected advertisement. They meant to discredit you, but they circulated you. They tried to shrink your reputation, but they amplified your presence. Even distortion can become distribution when purpose is attached to your life. There is an ancient pattern in this. In Genesis 50 verse 20, it is written, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done." Notice the structure of that truth. The intention of the attacker does not override the intention of heaven. Harm can be repurposed. Malice can be redirected. What they designed as damage can be restructured into destiny. That is not poetic language. It is a governing principle. The lie forced your name into circulation beyond your comfort zone. People who had never noticed you began asking questions. Some believed the worst. Others became curious. But curiosity itself opened a doorway. And when observers looked closer, many discovered that the accusation lacked substance. Your life contradicted the rumor. Your fruit exposed the fabrication. What was meant to stain you ended up spotlighting your integrity. Scripture reveals another layer. In Psalm 105 verse 19, speaking of Joseph during false accusation and imprisonment, it says, "Until the time came to fulfill his dreams, the Lord tested Joseph's character." The delay was not denial, it was development. The accusation was not the end, it was refinement. Character had to be strengthened before influence could be entrusted. And you are walking through a similar refinement. Understand this clearly: promotion without tested character becomes collapse. Influence without endurance becomes corruption. The lie became your furnace. It burned away insecurity. It exposed any lingering need for applause. It forced you to anchor your identity deeper than opinion. And now, what remains is sturdier, quieter, more unshakable. There is also the promise of vindication. Isaiah 54 verse 17 declares, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn." Notice it does not say weapons will not form. It says they will not prosper. The tongue may rise, but it will not reign. The accusation may circulate, but it will not dominate your destiny. truth outlasts noise. You have been living inside that promise without fully recognizing it. The weapon formed. The tongue rose. But did it prosper? Look carefully. You are still standing. Your opportunities are not dead. Your character remains intact. In fact, your resilience has deepened. That is not failure, that is fulfillment of protection. The hidden advantage goes even deeper. The lie revealed your emotional triggers and healed them. It exposed where you still felt vulnerable to misunderstanding. It forced you to confront your fear of rejection. And in confronting it, you grew beyond it. You are less afraid now. Less fragile. Less reactive. That internal freedom is priceless. No promotion can be sustained by someone enslaved to perception. There is a spiritual law embedded in Romans 8 verse 28. All things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to His purpose. Not some things. All things. Even slander. Even betrayal. Even distortion. The phrase, work together, implies orchestration. Pieces that appear chaotic are being arranged strategically. What you experienced was orchestration. The lie separated you from spaces too small for your future. It disconnected you from alliances that would have limited your expansion. It repositioned you into discomfort that stretched your capacity. And stretching always precedes enlargement. Now the atmosphere around you is recalibrating. The intensity is shifting. You can sense that something is about to open. Conversations feel different. Opportunities feel nearer. The weight of accusation feels lighter. That is not coincidence, it is transition. But here is the final tension: when vindication becomes visible, pride will knock at the door. The desire to say, "I told you so," will whisper softly. Resist it. Because the true sign of elevation is not public triumph, it is private humility. The higher you rise, the steadier your heart must become. There is one final turn in this story that will surprise even you. A moment when the very narrative that attempted to disqualify you will be referenced as proof of your strength. When that happens, you will realize the promotion letter was being drafted the entire time. And when it is handed to you, publicly or privately, you must be ready to carry it with wisdom. Beloved one, the moment is closer than you think. The shift you have been sensing is not imagination, it is arrival. What felt like endless tension was actually the final stretch before release. The lie ran its course. The whisper reached its limit. And now, something undeniable is about to surface. Not noise. Not drama. But confirmation. There will be a moment, subtle yet powerful, when the same atmosphere that once felt heavy around your name becomes light again. A conversation will change tone. An opportunity will reappear. A door you thought had quietly shut will open without explanation. And in that moment, you will understand, the attack did not delay you. It prepared you. The promotion will not necessarily look like a stage or a spotlight. It may look like increased responsibility, greater trust, access to rooms where decisions are shaped, influence that does not need to announce itself. Because real elevation is not loud, it is weighty. It carries gravity. And gravity does not shout, it pulls. The irony will be undeniable. The very qualities they tried to question, your integrity, your stability, your character, will become the reasons you are entrusted with more. Decision makers will say words like reliable, measured, steady. They will not mention the lie directly. They won't need to. Your endurance already answered it. And here is the deeper reversal: some of those who once believed the rumor will now advocate for you. Quietly. Without fanfare. Because when truth matures, it reshapes perception. You will see respect in eyes that once held doubt. Not because you forced it, but because consistency reshaped the narrative. But listen carefully. When the promotion letter finally lands, whether in the form of recognition, opportunity, or expanded authority, you must remember how you got here. You got here through restraint. Through silence. Through choosing dignity over reaction. If you abandon those disciplines now, elevation will feel unstable. Stay grounded. Stay discerning. Not everyone who applauds your rise is aligned with your future. Some will shift simply because momentum shifted. Welcome kindness, but guard access. Promotion requires boundaries. Authority requires clarity. You are not called to harden your heart, but you are called to protect your assignment. There will also be temptation to replay the past, to mentally revisit every whisper, every look, every moment of isolation. Let it go. You cannot carry resentment into rooms designed for influence. Release the memory without erasing the lesson. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is strategic freedom. And here is something that should stir you deeply: the lie became your introduction. It forced unseen observers to evaluate you. It revealed your resilience to people who value stability. It created contrast that made your character undeniable. What was meant to shrink you expanded your reach. That is why you must not fear future misunderstandings. If it happened once and strengthened you, it can happen again without destroying you. You now know something you did not know before: your destiny is not fragile. It cannot be undone by narrative manipulation. It cannot be erased by distortion. You are stepping into a new season where your voice carries more weight, not because you shouted louder, but because you endured longer. There is authority forming in your silence. There is credibility embedded in your composure. And those qualities will open doors that talent alone never could. If this message resonates with the quiet strength you've been building, let that agreement settle in your spirit. Stay connected to spaces that sharpen you. Remain anchored in truth. Elevation is not a one-time event, it is a rhythm. And you are learning its cadence. The lie they spread has already completed its unintended assignment. It exposed who you are under pressure. It revealed who stands with you. It refined your emotional discipline. And now it has transformed into something they never anticipated: your promotion letter. But this is not the end of the story. Because the same resilience that carried you through slander is about to be tested at a higher altitude. And what happens at that next level will determine not just your position, but your legacy.